Imagine having to entrust an eternal message to materials that crumble at the slightest touch. The biblical writers used papyrus and parchment. Papyrus was prone to mold and moisture, while parchment was vulnerable to temperature shifts and pests. In a world where survival is the exception, how did this text avoid turning into dust? The answer lies in two factors: maniacal copying, a practice even kings were commanded to follow, and a widespread distribution throughout the ancient world. If one copy rotted away, 100 more existed elsewhere. But how, technically, were these fragile yet priceless supports created? Watch this video to discover the incredible manufacturing process of papyrus and parchment.
The earliest Bible manuscripts were written on a material called papyrus. Papyrus is a plant that grows in shallow water with stalks that can reach almost 4.6 meters or about 15 feet high. Over 4,000 years ago, the Egyptians invented ways to turn papyrus into a smooth, strong writing material similar to paper. Even with modern tools, you can see it was a lot of work. Thin slices of the plant's core had to be soaked and flattened, arranged in layers, and then beaten and pressed to bind the layers together. When the sheets were dry, they were polished with a piece of ivory, a smooth shell, or even a stone. The result was a relatively smooth surface for writing. To make a scroll, individual sheets of papyrus were pasted together along the edges to make a roll that might be more than 6 meters or about 20 feet in length. But around the 2nd century CE, copyists began favoring a new technology that made papyrus documents much easier to use: the codex. With a codex, the papyrus pages were folded, sewn, and bound together to form something similar to a modern book. Think of all the hours required to produce these materials to write on. But without modern pens and pencils, what did ancient people use to write with? The pens they used were often made from pieces of hard reed like this, carefully cut to produce a pointed slit. In Bible times, one common type of ink that would be used with these reed pens was made by combining black soot with a rubbery gum that helped it stick to the page. Then water was added to the mixture. Whether in the form of a scroll or a codex, the problem with papyrus was that it decomposed easily. Amazingly, there are many fragments of Bible manuscripts on papyrus that have survived down to our day. What you see here are reproductions of fragments that are more than 2,000 years old. In time, Bible manuscripts began to be copied onto more durable materials. By about the 4th century, the most common of those was parchment. It was normally made from the hides of sheep, calves, or goats. The process begins by soaking the hide in water and lime, then removing the hair and excess flesh. After that, the skin is stretched on a frame and scraped with a knife to remove any residues like fat. The next step is to dry the skin under increased tension, which causes it to become stiff and flat. Finally, it's dusted with chalk and sanded smooth with pumice to create an even writing surface. As you can see, making even one sheet of parchment requires a tremendous amount of work. But today, there are many Bible manuscripts that were written on parchment, such as these 2 original manuscripts here. Another famous manuscript is the Codex Amiatinus, located in Italy, which is over 1,300 years old. In fact, it's the oldest complete Latin Bible bound in a single volume ever found. Some historians feel that it required the hides of over 400 animals to produce. This replica is big, but the original is even larger. It weighs 34 kilograms, or about 75 pounds. Think of all of the work that went into producing just that one Bible. Well, all of these materials are perishable and deteriorate with time. But to preserve His Word, Jehovah God saw to it that the Bible was meticulously copied and recopied over the centuries, so that today we have not just a few, but thousands of manuscripts of various parts of the Bible. So the next time you look up a Bible verse by tapping on a link, think about what it took to put those words in writing, and how amazing it is that Jehovah's Word, recorded using these ancient, fragile materials, is still with us today.
But this is just the beginning of the journey. The Bible doesn't just tell us how it survived. It answers the biggest questions about your life, your future, and the world we live in. Don't stop here. Check out our playlists to dive deeper into the mysteries of history and faith. From ancient archaeology to practical advice for today, see for yourself how the Bible responds to everything you've been wondering about.